You ready? Okay. I'd like to welcome you out to, I guess it's a special meeting. It's Wednesday, June 29th, 2022. We have this meeting in place of Monday because we cleared this place out for the elections. So we'd ask you to turn your cell phones off or silence them if you would. We'll start out with a prayer from Gabby Blackburn and the pledge from Wendy Long. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Wendy, and thank you, Gabby. Start out with the approval of minutes for June 6, 2022.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make the motion that we approve the minutes for the June 6, 2022 meeting.
Okay,
Second.
have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Next would be approval of the minutes for the June 13th, 2022 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the minutes of our meeting of June 13th, 2022.
Okay.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Report of warrants and review of counter signatures, certified list of claims.
Commissioners, I have warrants from two different meeting weeks. June 17th of 2022 in the amount of $572,071.46. There was a big one on that, and was the monthly health insurance came through on that one for $331,000. Also on June 24th, warrants in the amount of $330,445.03. And just for the record, these were not created, modified, or deleted in my office. Now for your claims. Check number 380458 to Colby Hells for the dynamite jackpot judge, $800. There was no invoice or PO issued for that one. Check number 380459 in the amount of $600 to High Country Sanitation. There was no purchase order for that one. That was Buckskin Hills and tourism on that one. Check number 380475, Mansfield Printing, $4,442.90. There was no purchase order issued on that one. Precision Testing, check number 380487 in the amount of $857.50. Underground storage tank testing, and there was no purchase order issued for that one. Dakota Quickle, check number 380488, amount of $1,200. This is for Dynamite Jackpot Judge. No purchase order or anything was on that one. Lance, check number 380493 to Lance Richens for $500. There was no purchase order issued on that one. Check number 380506, The Go Travel Sites, $500. And there was no purchase order issued on that one.
Those last two, Mike, what event was they for, or what were they for?
The one is for Western Park To Go Travel Sites. I'm not sure exactly what it was for.
Okay.
12 months of advertising, I'm guessing. And the one before that one was Lance Richens, and that one was for sound production for the Jackpot Show. And so that's all of those that I have.
Okay, any further discussion, questions? Entertain a motion.
I have one that needs to be on the certified list of claims. I'm not quite sure why it didn't make it on. Karina was reaching out to, I think, purchasing, and I don't know if it made it to the clerk's office or not, but we were informed it's not a claim yet, and I don't know why. There was a bill that came in from the FLETC organization, Federal Law Enforcement Training Center. If you remember last year, we had put on a human trafficking conference and had agreed to pay the travel expenses for the FLETC instructors to come out for that statewide training. We had informed them that we had money in the 2021 budget at the end of the year to be able to pay for the training, and we needed to be invoiced to make sure it could come out of that year's budget. I have the whole documentation here of emails that were sent back and forth from Karina, and then getting no response back from FLETC on the bills. They did finally send a bill to us in the amount of $2,606.55. The agreement back in 2021 was that the commission, county attorney's office, and the county sheriff were going to split those costs 3 ways. But again, we're in a new budget year. People can make a claim within a year, so that's why it's being brought in this meeting, but I just need to seek approval. I would like to continue to work with FLETC. I thought they did a really good job on the training. It was unfortunate that they moved slower than a glacier in getting the bill to us, but it is what it is. So it's being presented today to seek approval on paying that. The amount out of each budget, if we go that route, would be $868.85 per sheriff, attorney, and commission.
So John, have we paid that one yet, or we have not paid it? Okay.
Nope, the bill came in, and since it didn't meet the requirements that we had set last year in trying to get it paid out of last year's budget, because all three of those offices looked at our budgets and said, yeah, we have enough for at the end of the year. We could cover, about 800. I think we were all looking at less than $1,000 is what we were thinking for that training. It sounds like their billing office, I don't know what happened. They said that they don't get the bill until a month after the training, which is their justification for sending it to us a few weeks ago. Problem was the training was back in early December. So they should have received the billing information by January, which would have given them plenty of time to send us the invoice, and then we could have processed it out of last year's budget. But it came into, obviously it's coming too late. But as you can see from this packet, not by any mishap on our side. There was a lot of communication trying to get this information from them.
Okay. Well, I can't speak for the sheriff, but I would think that we would honor the same kind of deal.
I would want to. I just think we need to acknowledge right now we did not budget for this out of this year's. So if we get to, as we get closer to the end of the year, if we need to do some budget openers for the county attorney's office, at least we would be seeking an additional $868.85 to help cover this. And I would assume the sheriff's office would be seeking the same thing. I don't want to. I wish there was either Brian or Stephen here. I think Karina reached out to them and said, well, as long as our budget doesn't go in the red, that they're still willing to pay their share. But just understanding that it hasn't been budgeted anywhere for this year.
Okay. Well, it's got to be paid.
Yeah.
It's got to be paid, and I don't know what other direction we go.
So I don't know if you want to do it, have them approve it, and then just have when it comes through.
I just need it approved as a claim because it came in as a bill. We had I believe Karina had a PO already in place with the estimated amount that we were going to, about $3,000, and then we were waiting for the actual the actual invoice to come in. It just came in many, many months late than what we were anticipating. But it was still a great training. Like I said, I don't want to burn any bridges with FLETC. I think they're a great organization. I just think something happened in their billing, and we just didn't get it in the agreed time frame.
Okay. Well, I'll entertain a motion with that.
Mr. Chairman, make the motion that we go ahead and pay the counter signatures of certified list of claims that's been presented by Mike and John at this time.
Okay.
That gets covered.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
Thank you. So then, Mike, I'll have Karina get this processed,
Okay.
and we can get them paid. All right, thank you.
Cemetery certificates.
We have several today, Commissioners. Jensen Cemetery, Don Fidelic, Lot Plat B, Block 6, spaces 37B and 37D. Leota Cemetery, Dale Wesley Stevens, Block B1, Lot 1, Space 1. Mazer Fairview Cemetery, Larry Ross Oplanop and Wanda Lou Oplanop, Lot 428A, spaces 1 and 2. Rock Point Cemetery, Phase 2, Cal G. Jackson and Shauna D. Jackson, Block 332, Lot D, spaces 15 and 16. Continuing in Rock Point Cemetery, Ivan Gardner and Rama Gardner, Block 332, Lot B, spaces 27 through 30. Continuing Rock Point Cemetery, Dwayne Gardner, Block 332, Lot A, spaces 31 and 32, and Block 332, Lot B, spaces 25 and 26. Moving to the Vernal Memorial Park, Stephen Lynn Richens and Mara Lee Richens, Lot 217, spaces 10 through 13. Vernal Memorial Park, Bonnie Carlene Allred and Marvin Leroy Allred, Block B 10.5, Lot 1, Space 1, and Block B 10, Lot 3, Space 1. That's all of them.
Okay. Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the cemetery certificates as presented.
Second it.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Tax matters. Wendy? Nobody? No tax matters today. Business licenses.
Good morning, Gabby Hawks Blackburn with Community Development. We have 3 home-based businesses today. The first one is Double Hook Inc. It's located at 1843 West, 1500 South, parcel number 5981 in the RA1 zone. It's an oil-filled workover rig. They've stated that nothing will be parked at their home. Their home is just for a home office. We went and checked it out. Everything seems great there. The only conditions on this one are that no commercial vehicles are parked at their home without first obtaining an approved CUP, and that they follow all home-based business rules and regulations.
Okay. Entertain a motion.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I'd make the motion that we approve the business license for Double Hook Inc. They follow all recommendations by the Planning Commission and following home-based businesses and no parking of vehicles at their house.
Okay. Have a motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
Great. The next one is Big Guns with a Z Power Wash, located at 1608 East, 3500 South, parcel number 651403. This, he has like a small trailer and he goes around with a power washer. He does homes, driveways, sidewalks, some cars, but he's not washing cars at his home location. This is also located in the RA1 zone, so no washing vehicles is allowed as a home-based business in this zone. So the conditions on this business are that they follow all Uintah County home-based business rules and regulations, follow all Tri-County Health Department rules and regulations when it comes to like disposing of the chemicals and stuff, and that no car washing is done at the home. All washing will be done at clients' residences, and all water, residue, and cleaning supplies will be disposed of at the client's home.
Okay. Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the home-based business license for Big Guns Power Wash, with the understanding that they follow all the home-based business rules and requirements and tri-county health rules for dealing with the wash and any chemicals associated with the washing.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
Okay, and then the last one is FJR Services LLC, located at 725 North, 5750 East, parcel number 141685. This is a oil-filled roustabout service, so he said he mostly does like battery work, installs batteries and stuff, but he does do other things. He has basic tools and a pickup truck. The home will just be used as a home-based office. He's gonna go to locations or to where these vehicles are located to do all the work. And so the conditions on this business license are that they follow Uintah County home-based business rules and regulations, and that no automotive repair is done at the home. All work will be done on commercial locations.
Okay. Entertain a motion.
I'd make the motion that we approve the FJR Services, oil field and roustabout services, that they follow all home-based business rules that has been presented to them.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gabby. Next item would be the Children's Justice Center NCA Cambia contract amendment.
So Kylan Beatty with the Children's Justice Center. This is a amendment to our previous contract we had with the Cambia grant. All that happened was they extended the grant cycle from December 2022 to June 30th, 2023. The amount is the same. It's just the billing for therapy hours is split up between the 2 years now. Previously, year 2 had 388 hours, and now it has 205. Year 3 was added, and it now has 172 hours. The total remaining amount is $24,142.24. So we have spent $5,012.76.
Okay. Any further discussion? Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the contract amendment between NCA, the NCA Cambia contract, with essentially extending it to from December 31st of 2022 to June 30th, 2023, as presented,
Okay.
including authorization of signature.
Okay.
Second it.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passed. Thank you. Next item on the agenda would be Resolution 06202022R1, approval of the 2022 URS contribution rates.
Mark Caldwell, Uintah County Budget Officer. Commissioners, I've received a request from Utah Retirement Systems that we certify the rates, the retirement rates for the fiscal year 2023, which runs from July 1st of 2022 to June 30th of 2023. So, I will in just 1 minute. So this will give you the full screen so you'll see what's up there. In yellow are, except for the bottom, the numbers that are in yellow are all decreasing by 0.5%. The numbers that are in blue are increasing by 0.32%. So I'll take it off full screen. And at the bottom, it asks for certification. And that's what I'd be asking is to authorization to certify this. So for the contributory plan, local government, those rates, like I say in yellow, decreased by 0.5%. And this is the amount that's required by the county to pay. There's no optional amounts in here. This is just required, set by the actuaries and by the legislature. Let's see if I can go down here. So then we go down to the non-contributory local government. Those are also decreasing by 0.5%. The public safety non-contributory is staying the same. If they're not highlighted, they're staying the same. So the hybrid local government, tier 2, decrease of 0.5% in total. On the hybrid for the public safety, this number, the 0.32. So currently, the way this is set up, it's going to be paid by the employee, so that won't be a cost to the county. If you remember, I think it was in 2020, the county approved to pick up, the number just below that is 2.27. So that was originally going to be an employee pickup, but the county opted to pick that up for the employee. And so the question here is whether the county has the option of picking that 0.32 up as an employer paid contribution, or leaving it as it currently is to be paid by the employees. Now, if the county leaves it as is, then you look down at the tier 2 DC. No, look down at the tier 2 DC public safety, and that number that's in blue is 0. But if the county chooses to pick up that 0.32, they'd also have to pick up a 0.32 for the tier 2 DC only public safety. And if you decide to pick that up, that it will be done by a resolution that I provided to you previously.
Do you know what that cost would be?
So roughly the cost for the county to pick up that 0.32 for both the DC and the hybrid is approximately $14,000 to $15,000 annually.
And why, do you know why they're decreasing the other ones?
So each year they do an actuarial valuation of what it's going to cost, the projected cost to provide the pension benefits to everyone that's in URS. And based on that, they set the rates. And so I would assume it's because the market's doing well last year.
Was.
So
Well, they've been catching up for some bad investments.
some bad year in about 2008 when the market crashed.
Yeah.
That's put them behind, and last year was better, so those rates have decreased.
That total is about 6%, isn't it? That's been carried on, been added on, or is it?
let's
Am I
see.
understanding that right?
So some of the groups, tier 2 groups, have to pay. Then last year was 6.69 that some of the groups will have to pay in to fund that unfunded liability for tier 1, and I believe that amount's going down to let's see what it is, 6.19. So that's a 0.5% decrease. And so at the bottom here it says that by clicking confirm, I certify I've reviewed the above information and all persons involved in submitting reports have been notified. I also certify I'm authorized to verify the above rates on behalf of Uintah County. So I'd be seeking approval from the commission for myself to authorize to certify this.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Got a little confusing in there on that, towards the end on that added part, but this part that you have on the resolution there is just approving the standard rate that,
So the resolution I provided you provides for the county to pick up the extra .32 for the public safety, both the hybrid and the DC only public safety. So if you decide to pick that up instead of letting the employee pick that up, you will need to approve the resolution also.
so there'd be two resolutions.
Just one resolution. If you pick it up, if you pick that up, if the employer decides to pick that up, the .32, then we'll need to approve the resolution. If you decide not to pick it up, the rates will stay the way they are right now on what I presented, and there is no resolution. It's just, you'll just authorize me to approve these rates.
Okay. You have any discussion? John, do you have anything? Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make the motion to accept the resolution 06202022R1, approval of the 2022 URS contribution rates.
Okay, I have a motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passed.
Thank you.
Oh. I think we should, didn't we add and including authorization for Mark to submit?
Okay, and I add to my motion that I include the authorization for Mark Caldwell to submit this.
Okay, and in second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
Thank you.
Next item would be the contract for the Utah Horse Pulling Association.
Melanie Silcox, Western Park. I'm requesting approval for the Utah Horse Puller Association contract for the county fair this year. They would perform on August 19th. They bring in 12 teams of horses, guaranteed at least 12 teams, an hour and a half to 2 hour show. The cost is $6,000 and we do not charge a gate. There was one question on it when Jonathan reviewed the contract because they had mentioned an insurance coverage that they wanted to use ours. We have talked to them. They need to provide their own insurance, and they said that they will get a $2 million general aggregate like we request of all other vendors.
Okay,
Is it, did you have a question?
go ahead.
So they didn't have that in their original contract, but they have it now?
It's contingent that they will change that in their original, change the contract.
Okay.
She said she would change that and send it over.
Okay,
So, Mr. Chair, if the commission's inclined to approve, if the motion could include that it's subject to them getting that insurance,
okay,
and then we'll be okay.
sounds good. Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the contract between Uintah County and the Horse Pulling Association for in the amount of $6,000, including authorization of signature contingent upon the association providing their proof of insurance.
Second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passed. Thank you.
I think the next one's mine too.
Was it?
Yep.
Okay. Discussion on Western Park bleachers.
Yes. So our bleachers on the east end that are the old wooden bleachers, they've been a staple at the Western Park for, I can go back at least 50 years. I don't know exactly how long they've been there. they no longer are passing inspection. The wood is rotted, the frames are bad. Matt Tate with Vernal City inspected. I do have a letter from him that says they are no longer considered safe. So I guess we need to know what you guys would like us to do, or how we can dispose of them, what our next step is to that.
My question would be, number one, what are you gonna do for the rodeo?
I've borrowed two bleachers from Buckskin Hills and already put them in their place. So that's already taken care of. In the future, that's going to be something we need to purchase and look at in the budget. But for this year, I have already borrowed 2 sets from Buckskin Hills.
Those mobile ones?
Yep.
We bought.
I don't know if anybody's, Mike?
Commissioners, Melanie called last week, or 2 weeks ago maybe now, and talked to me about this, and I said, how do we sell something like that? It's not gonna pass inspection, but I said I didn't feel comfortable because it is a physical asset of the county. I said, we need to bring that to the commissioners to say, what do we wanna do? After her discussion with that, my comment would be is we just tear it down. So we don't try to pass that liability to somebody else, then they come back, well, you sold us something, and you're not gonna sell bleachers like that.
Can we just haul them to the landfill?
You probably would fall apart before you got there.
I mean,
And
we
they're-
can take them apart or haul them however.
I would probably suggest they just be torn down and then hauled to the,
Do we need to make a certification of no salvage value or
that's where I'm
something?
throwing out here.
Okay.
I just don't, I think there's a lot of liability if we was to sell something like that, and then somebody used it for some, who knows what, and then they fell through and.
Do you want me to read the letter that Matt sent over, or just give it to you guys? Okay.
I'm good. I'd just say we give,
I mean, you can sell things as is because somebody else might want to salvage it. It's just what price would we put on it? And if they're that beat up that they're gonna fall apart, sometimes you just say it's trash.
That's kind of where I was
I mean,
at, but I wanted you guys.
We don't have to sell everything that's turned to
Right.
trash in the county. We can just throw it away. And if it's to that point, then why not? Because if you could salvage it in some way, I mean, we have projects that could use material, so if any of it could be reused, I would just say keep it in the county and reuse it. But if it's to the point where it's all falling apart, then let's just throw it away.
They are pretty bad. When Matt inspected, he said that all the wood has been opened up. And so he said even if you tried to salvage 30% of that, he said within another year, since it's opened up, it's gonna be sucking everything, the moisture back up, and continue to rot away.
Yeah. I would just say, if we can't repurpose the material, then just chuck it.
yeah, I'd say we just do whatever we need to do to throw it away.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make that motion that we go ahead and dispose of the wooden bleachers at the Western Park on the east side at means of probably cutting them up and hauling them to the landfill.
Well,
That's
do we
what
actually,
covered, or-
can we do that? It says discussion, it didn't say decision.
Okay, yeah. Well,
I'm not as concerned with, because sometimes I always prefer that you have consideration of, so you can talk about it, but then not be forced to take an action, or you just have it on the agenda. Here, we're just we're just giving a direction to say, get rid of it. We don't see this as falling under our surplus property, ordinance. That's the only finding we need, and then it can just be thrown away.
Okay.
so
So do you want a motion on that, or just give them direction to tear it down and throw it away?
I think if there's consensus, it can just be, you don't
By
find this as
consent.
falling under the surplus property. It's in the record. Mike, do you need anything else on your end as the auditor?
Just so we had something in the record saying
Yeah, so I would just say it with general consensus, it doesn't fall under the surplus property ordinance.
Okay, so I have nothing further I need to do other than just dispose of them.
You can just dispose of it.
I would actually document when you did it, who did it, something like that, so that we've got too many things where it's just said disposed of, and that was the last ever heard.
Okay,
So they were torn down and taken to the dump on this day by so-and-so.
okay.
Okay, thank you. Don't get hurt tearing them down.
No,
Mike might want it for records. I don't know.
or
Okay. Next item is discussion regarding Vernal City CIB application for planning grant and possible partner with Uintah County downtown geothermal project.
Hey, good morning, Commissioners. Quinn Benyon, Vernal City Manager. And this item, the county and city have partnered on a number of projects the last several years, and I would say successfully. And this is a project that is unique but has some intriguing, it's an intriguing concept. The city has applied for CAB planning grant to explore the feasibility and general concept planning for a geothermal district heating system, heating and cooling system within the downtown area. A little bit of background, geothermal technology for heating and cooling has been around for decades and decades, well-proven technology. In fact, City Hall was constructed, what was it, 11 years ago now, with a geothermal ground source heat pump system. So there's 30 wells in our parking lot that you don't even know they're there, and it uses, and we have 50-something heat pumps in the building, and that's how we receive our heating and cooling. Geothermal systems perform better the larger they are, and the more that the uses can share excess heat or share excess cool. Add to that the idea of rising energy costs. Add to that we will be as a city and other partners will be replacing miles of water and sewer lines in the downtown area that are much needed. And that'll be occurring over the next several years. So this was a good opportunity to look at the idea of this district heating and cooling. Weber's, it is unique because it's a system that usually is contained within areas that you control. For example, Weber State and Mesa, what's the Grand Junction?
Mesa State College.
Mesa State College. They have very robust systems, but of course they control the buildings, the property, the right-of-way, and they can make these systems work very well. The early indication is, and we would hope that this proves out in the concept, that buildings that are attached to this can reduce their heating and cooling costs by 50%. What intrigues us about the downtown area, if you start looking at what we're calling the anchor locations, including the hospital, a number of county buildings, this building, library, conference center, ice rink would be very valuable. Western Park, the jail, Tri-County building. It's a fairly small area when you look at it. Strata's data center has a lot of excess heat that we could utilize in the system. So as we look to that, we think there is definitely enough viability to go to the concept stage, and that's where we are right now. We've applied for this planning grant. The planning grants are a 50-50 match. So we've submitted for 40,000, and then the local match is 40,000. Now that does sound like a lot for a study, but when we start looking at, we're looking at hiring 3 different, a drilling expert, geothermal expert, and then a civil engineering firm to design the concept. So we did hold some preliminary meetings with some of the entities we invited. There's about 15 people that came to that just to talk concepts and how it might progress. And again, there was enough interest to move forward. So we are seeking counties, see what your level of interest is. The city, again, we're the applicant, but if the county would consider partnering on that local match.
What was the payout on the Vernal City building? You said you drilled 30 wells down there?
Yes.
What'd you figure the payout was on the cost putting those in?
Yeah, good. I don't have that. I probably should, go in and research how much that system costs itself. It would be difficult to compare because it was a new building, so you couldn't say before and after. You would just have to compare it to a like building that has the traditional system. Again, we do know, like Weber and Mesa College has had very good success with the system.
What does that mean? Good success?
Well, they're sharing 50% energy reduction in costs.
Okay, because most of it is put in at the time the building is built, and they've been building a lot of new stuff. So I don't know if they've retrofit their old buildings. That's the only place you could get that comparison.
Yeah, and the buildings we're talking about would have to be retrofitted. Yep. And there's a lot ahead. I don't have the answers. That's why you do a feasibility study. There's a lot of, and this could be a case, and we recognize that, where we look at it and we invest in the plan and we find out that it's not feasible right now. We would, as part of the feasibility study, we will be taking energy costs that are occurring at each of these anchor sites and estimating what would be the estimated savings, and then the cost of the system and possible funding sources for that. There are right now a number of grants for energy efficiencies, including district heating systems.
So what you've looked at, I'm going to take the ice rink. When they're building ice and keeping that ice in the winter, it creates a ton of heat that just goes in the atmosphere. You would capture that heat and put it into the system.
Absolutely. And then you share that with buildings that need heat. Same with Strata's data center. Mm-hmm. They're 24/7 cooling operation. And right now that's just excess heat that's not going anywhere. And you capture that and share it with other entities that need it.
I think it's a great idea. I think, I've followed along with you on this project as you've been looking into it, and I think it's a good idea. And the county, if we go from the rec center to the jail and our buildings, the convention center, I mean, we're probably standing to gain the most of the project, to be honest with you, more than the city is. So.
Yeah, in fact, our city hall building, we already are geothermal, so we may or may not even add into it. We wouldn't have to retrofit because we already have our 50-something heat pumps already.
Yeah.
I guess it would come through the planning phase, but somewhere along the line, there's going to have to be an ability to convert the geothermal into a carbon offset of some sort. Otherwise, it's just shuffling stuff. Now, we are in non-attainment, but not for certain things. So we can actually make use of that. We can use those to offset some other things, but it's got to be an acceptable methodology, otherwise EPA says, good for you, but we don't count that. So that question needs to be answered.
Yeah, we have started the exploration of would this project benefit in any way our local oil and gas providers who have to invest and show investment into carbon offset projects. So we are going to explore that as part of this.
Well, it's also in electric generation, not just
Right.
them. Okay. And what's the county's portion, 5,000?
10.
What you could do, we do see that the county buildings would be a beneficiary of this if we move forward, and there's a lot of ifs. This
Well,
is
I
very,
thought we were
very
just
early
talking about the
exploratory.
plan
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
The plan is not a commitment.
Correct. Yeah.
And then, see, that's with that solar thing that's coming up. If we committed to the planning, then we were committing to the construction. And that's a little iffy. If this goes in the planning phase, you can still go, no, this isn't worth
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
So what's the cost of the plan?
Yeah, the local share is 40,000.
Okay.
Well, I like the idea of looking into it and seeing if it's something that would help cut costs later on, you know. I mean, these systems last for a long time. I think it'd be quite a savings if it's something that came about, so.
So basically, you're needing it, or would like to seek an answer today if we'd like to partner with it on the money or just for discussion.
Yeah, we wouldn't need it today, and it goes back to what John said earlier. This is listed as discussion only, so if you need to put it on a future agenda, we are in the review process with CAB staff on the plan, so they haven't got to the point where they've approved us yet.
I think on something like this, with the distinction between what Mel was presenting in here is Mel was just seeking, is it falling under our surplus property ordinance or not? And then what action would she be authorized to do? And then the decision was it didn't fall under that ordinance, so then she could just dispose of it, as any other department would. Here, I think, if it is seeking an actual dollar amount, at some point, as a contributing partner, I think that's what Vernal City is wanting to have a discussion on, that we would get whatever the direct request would be after this discussion, and then we would get it on an agenda, so properly we would say, yes, we are, the public then would know that we're going to be, you're seeking approval for X number of dollars, and we know what that hit to the budget would be. So that, I think I would draw a distinction between those two words of discussion in that way.
Understand?
Just for future, you're thinking 20, half?
Yeah, 20,000.
Okay, well, we'll put it on the agenda.
Okay,
and have
thank
a
you.
discussion.
Thanks for the visit and,
No, thanks for
and
the
the
project.
insights on that.
Is there any more documentation that we would, or has that already been sent to the commissioners individually?
We can submit our CIB planning grant. You probably don't need all of our loan information that's not, but we can put the project description. Maybe that would be helpful.
Yeah, and maybe that would just help, so between now and, well, then
I'll
we
send
have
it
the
over.
4th, so it'd be, is that the 11th? Next commission meeting? That then, we would have the information beforehand, so we could do our final review, and then it would be on the agenda for that day.
Great.
Yeah.
Before you sit down, seeing what's on the agenda next, do you see solar playing any part of this program, or is it?
Yes, again, early discussions. If this moves forward, there is going to need power to generate the circulating pumps, and those run all the time. So we would like to see if we can introduce solar to help. It wouldn't cover it all, but help offset some of the what would be needed to generate those pumps.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Quinn. Okay, with that, we'll go to Spectra Solar LLC contract. That's one that we had brought to us. They presented it 2 weeks ago. And we just put it back on to see if we wanted to have a decision or more discussion or move forward, so. Or not. Do you guys have any other questions on it, or do you remember the conversation good enough?
I was not crazy about it. This time, without more discussion, I'm not looking to move forward with it yet. As far as personally, wasn't crazy about it.
Okay,
I'm,
is that a motion, or you want?
No
Well,
discussion.
my concern was, this is outside of the National Solar EIS. This area is not, didn't make it into analysis because it's just not a great solar area. So that's number one. Now, they think they can do that, but they're not using traveling panels, so they're going to be set. They're also going to, they're going to do the feasibility, but they do it only after we agree to the whole project. And so there are two strikes for me being at this, especially in the winter, at the low elevation or the high latitude, low sun elevation. Without traveling panels, I don't know what you're going to get out of the winter. And if we turn it over to them to do the calculation and they say, yeah, it's good, then we're stuck whether we like it or not. I don't know what the buyout, I don't know if there was an out clause that cost us anything or not, John. And I'm not looking for reasons not to do it. I'm just a little concerned that some of the in-your-face practical reasons seem to be a little concerning.
Okay. John, do you have anything to say on it, or are you?
No. No, I mean, if the county wanted to do it, are they legally able to? Yes, Commissioner Stringer, when you asked that, I'm quickly scrolling through to see if I can find the out clause, but the other concerns probably are enough to weigh the decision of the commission.
Okay.
But I can keep looking through here if you want that
No,
specific answer.
it's fine. I just don't really care for those contracts that say, well, sure, we'll do the plan for you, but if we decide that the plan is right, then that it'll work. Because they're going to get paid. Their money is not coming from us. We're not paying for those things. It's coming from federal subsidies and other subsidies. So that's not where they're making their money, is through the delivery of a system that really, really works. They're getting it, I think, regardless. There may be some more benefits to them if it is highly productive. But I would prefer that they do the study and then we have the ability to look at it and because we're not solar people, we don't do that, and have somebody else look at it and go, shh, without traveling panels, you're going to need twice as many, 3 times as many, something like that. I worry about sign here and you give away, you're committed. So unless there's an out clause and even if there is an out clause, we're probably going to have to provide a solar expert who would say that their proposal really isn't going to work at this latitude and elevation. And then we could end up, who knows where we might end up. I like it'll be a little cleaner.
Okay. Well, entertain a motion.
Well, I guess it's my turn. Just based on the way the deal has been presented to us, the gas backup and stuff sounds good. We are gas producing. We're also seeing, this can't be the only place this is happening, and it doesn't take much of a look around the planet to find out that everybody that embraced that green technology is now backpedaling just about as fast as they can. So given the information we've gotten, some of the facts in the matter, I would move to pass on the project at this time.
Okay,
I'll second it.
we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Next item would be the Motorola 800 radios for the Sheriff's Department.
Good morning. Andy Meinrod with the Sheriff's Office. Got a bid for the 800-watt Motorola radios. The state's been going this way since about 2002. We have a bid for outfitting all the sheriff's deputies' patrol vehicles. Handhelds have already been purchased, and a couple of the jail vehicles, as well as search and rescue. I believe ARPA funds have already been set aside for this very purpose. And about a year ago, they went out and got a bid, or started the process for a bid for the 800-watt radios. And I guess that's about it.
And these are on the state bid.
They are Motorola state bid, yes.
That ARPA funding, was that coming from the state part? or
Federal.
Federal, I meant. But
We're gonna try to go get state money. They set some money aside. But we had to have a decision if we were even gonna do it before we go out after. We have to have a commitment.
we've had some discussion about the fire district and who else needing them. What else is-
Animal control.
Animal control.
and is that something that we need to look at including them all, or is it?
We need to do separate. The way this has come down, I think we need to do separate and see what state funds are available.
Available?
We've set aside enough of the ARPA money. We've had that discussion to commit for the sheriff's department. But if we could get funded by the state, that would free some of that money up for other projects, so.
Well, maybe I misunderstood Brad's question, but eventually all of the folks who use these radios are gonna have to go
Correct.
to this.
Because they'll no
frequency.
longer be servicing the VHF towers.
No, since after 9/11, every agency has been going to the narrow band and trying to make sure everybody can get on the same frequency, and this is part of that, I presume.
Yes.
We was sitting
So
in,
eventually, we do have to address everyone who works through dispatch, everyone who communicates with law enforcement or emergency. But I think this is just for the one we're just talking about today, is just the sheriff's office.
we met with in the 911 dispatch meeting and talked about the radios with the highway patrol and everyone. And they brought up the point that there was another company, I think Kenwood or something, that made a radio,
Yeah.
but they don't work.
Correct. Motorola works best out here.
Well, they don't work. They can't get them to work even in the city, so.
Okay.
So, the recommendation from everyone there was to stick with the Motorola and go with the state contract on it,
Okay.
so.
Are we talking about a number then today? We have a number?
Yeah, we have a number. So for the radios, and I believe it includes, like I said, all the patrol vehicles, some of the jail vehicles that they do transports in, search and rescue, and I believe it's also an amplification for the public safety complex, because we just don't get good service in there, and an installation cost. The bill for the radios and the amplification is $348,717.78, and the installation cost is right at $9,800.
Okay, and then
How much, 900?
9,800, sorry.
then the other price we're not gonna wanna bring up, cause I think it has to go for bid.
Okay.
The antenna.
The antenna, is that for the RFP for a?
Yes,
Okay.
that we need to put out for bid,
Okay.
because it doesn't fall underneath the state.
This one, okay.
So, yeah, don't bring that number up, we don't wanna hurt anybody, but that does, we need that, it mounts on the corrections facility over there, so that will have to be an
Okay,
addition to.
and they didn't give me that number probably because they didn't want me to bring it up here.
What was the total on the radios again?
$348,717.78.
78 cents, correct.
And then
Then a
9,800 for
9,800 for
install.
installation.
9,800 installation, yes.
Just out of curiosity, most organizations that have devices like that also have a certain percent being held in reserve. Something happens, you don't have to go through the reorder, there's going to be something on the shelf that the tech can replace. It gets shot, somebody throws up from the back seat all the way onto the radio.
Correct. In this bid too also covers a few extra handheld radios.
Does it say how much?
I wouldn't even know which one to look
1%,
at.
5%, what, some percentage of your population would be.
Yeah, I wouldn't even know where to look at.
But
in this
it's
bid.
included in that
It is
cost.
included, yes.
Okay.
Just using the ARPA funds, it's something that we're not gonna have to take out of taxpayers' money. It's something we're gonna have to do. I support getting this done.
I know it set some apart, but I was kind of under the understanding that maybe we go to the state after, use some of their ARPA funding instead of ours.
If we can get it.
Well, we're not, we're just saying we're going forward, source to be determined, but
We-
a source will be found.
We need to move forward if we're going to, because they're out. If we get them ordered now, I mean, we're 4 to 6 months away.
Okay.
So with that, I entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make the motion that we go ahead and move forward with the Motorola 800 radios for the Sheriff's Department with a cost of $348,717.78 for the radios and the installation cost of $9,800. And that's presented today, I guess, with appropriate signatures.
Okay,
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Mike, on that, being a state bid through Motorola, are we good with that amount of money?
That's what I was just searching. Do you have the contract number with it? Because I could pull up Motorola, but I'm not finding that particular one. As long as it's under the state contract, our policy allows us to do that. even
Can we
with
add that to the motion then?
I'm just looking here on
I seen it on the, there is a contract, not a state
The motion would just need to say subject to state bid.
Okay.
Modify my motion then to say according to state bid. Is that everything we need to say then on it?
Because if it's not in there, then your motion isn't applicable.
find that. I would suggest as long as you reference that it does fall into the state contract and we were able to find one, I think our policy covers us that way. Because they've already did all the bidding process for it.
Okay.
We're
Sounds
finding
good.
18015 is the contract number that they're showing here for the state of Utah. We'll
Do we
have
need to put that number in that motion too, or just follow?
I would, that's what they've put on their proposal
Okay.
is, that's what I'm assuming, but I haven't had time to look back.
We just add that to the motion. That'll
Yeah.
be good. Okay, so
Go ahead,
you've
go
made
ahead.
that motion?
Yeah.
That addition. Have you seconded it?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Now, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Thank you. Next item is the mineral lease funds distribution. Commissioner Stringer?
Yes, remaining. We've had, when we first started at the beginning of the year, when we had the districts separate, before SSD number 1 really started, we did an allocation. When we started the new year, we went ahead and just we had some money transferred from, or we didn't, Uintah County or the Transportation District went ahead and fronted up $50,000 to SSD number 1. And then when the allocation started in February for the January month, there was $41,667 going to SSD number 1. Now that there is a manager or an executive director, we're looking to move increase that budget. And then also, I have to defer to you on this one. The Healthcare Special Service District has been receiving $83,333, which I guess is $1 million a year. And they are having, the current economy is eating them up. And so it sounds as though we need to move some money, or we need to enhance theirs. Now, under normal circumstances, what we would do is we would have the districts get together and come up with some way of coming up with some money, doing some transfers. But because of the way we've had it set up, Special Service District number 1 has been getting $41,667, Rec $250,000, Impact $115,415, Animal Control $67, Healthcare $83,300, and Fire $141,666. And the remaining was going to the Transportation District. I think they budgeted for $2 million. Brad, do you remember what the budget was set for the year? Even if it were 4, it's up there. The remaining, because of some of the early months, they've already received what they had budgeted. So because they're not a set amount, we don't have to really reduce them and go in and say, we're going to change your allocation from X to Y. What we're saying is that they would still be getting the remaining amount. What we were looking at doing or proposing is having the Special Service District number 1 go from 41,600 to 100. I think it's 150. And then healthcare go, I think probably to what was your?
We need to go up 35,000 a month.
Go up 35,000. That's about 118,000. Because the smallest month, the May allocation, Transportation received 780,000, and they have had a couple of months about $1 million. So even if we took that would be 30, and if we took about 140,000 from that quote remaining fund, Transportation would still be getting 500 to 600,000 a month. That would be the remainder, and then all the districts. All the rest are functioning without any issues at this point in time.
Yeah, there was a couple issues at the health district that has caused this. Number one is we'd cut them back when we was receiving only $9.5 million in min release money. We'd determined we had enough money that we could go lower on their allocation. This will put them close to about the 1.4, but that they were receiving. And then the other part is on the Medicare, the high pay, the top end, has not been paying. They've been getting smaller amounts than they were planning on. So.
Did you say 35,000?
35.
Is there, when we adopt these throughout, to refresh my memory here, we adopt these now, there's no change in them for the year. Is that correct?
We can't change the ones that are set amounts, because once they are set, then they come under the district's authority. The districts can transfer if they would, like Impact did, or like Transportation did for SSD1, they put some money in for seed money, but that's entirely up to them. Because we didn't have a fixed amount for Transportation, they got the remaining, and we're not even coming close to zeroing it out. Because they've met their budget, they're not in any danger of not meeting any of their requirements or any of their budgeted obligations. Then we can make this, and without, quote, changing remaining. It wasn't a fixed number, it's a variable number. It's changed every month, hasn't been the same twice.
Okay. So with that,
And let me also clarify, we could add money from the county. We could take county money and add to any of these at any time. That's what we were looking at doing back when we were close to that 8-9 million mark. We were looking at where we could get money from county funds to put into districts, because the money can flow that way.
okay, I'll entertain a motion.
All right. Well, Mr. Chairman, I move to increase the allocation to Special Service District Number 1 by I think it's $108,333 up to $150. And then also change healthcare from 83,333, add 35, and I think that becomes about 118. 333, and then all the rest would remain the same.
Okay,
I'll second it.
we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? John?
Can I ask a question about that?
What's that?
Can I just ask this question? I
Sure.
don't understand what he said.
Come on up.
Just so I get this. Turn the mic on. So if the Special Service District has been given the mineral lease money, and that's their set thing, then they control it and they give it or take it. But if it's not a set thing, then that's on you to, it's fluid, like, so you're saying the UTSSD didn't have a set budget of their mineral lease,
They don't have a set amount that they're receiving.
set amount, because they're getting the surplus.
Or the negative. In some
Okay.
cases, they've gotten zero in
Because
some
when
months.
the mineral lease money comes to the county,
Doesn't come to the county.
No, they haven't
it comes
received
to
this
the
money yet.
districts, straight to the districts. So how come the commissioners can, I think I get what you're saying.
No, all we're in charge of is just the allocation, just
Yeah, the
how much
allocation.
money goes to. We're not changing anything they've received, only what they're gonna receive in the future.
And
Because
we
you do
couldn't
get
cut
that
them.
allocation and you do give it to the districts.
No, we don't get the allocation. We
Not-
deal with the state.
After,
But when the amount's there, okay, we have $100 for the districts, so you guys will say everybody gets $3. So that's, you do have that say where the allocation goes.
Yes.
Okay, that was kind of my question.
yes,
Okay. But
We-
then once it's in their coffers,
We can't
they
touch it.
decide.
Yes.
where it
Yes.
goes. Okay, I thought that's what you said,
Yeah.
but
yes.
take
Yeah, we don't touch it once they have it.
Well, and technically, we're not touching
No,
what's in there. We're putting
true.
stuff on top of it.
it's true.
The only correction I would make to that on the legal side would be, because you can go up, it's to make sure that you don't have that financial control. That's the legal standard from all of the opinions from the federal government. If there were such a severe reduction, something would need to be done because the money's just not there. So I wouldn't say it's an absolute, you cannot change the allocation. But the point is that once you make the annual allocation, which is provided for by statute, it is proper to not change that and the specific annual allocation because they're setting their budget based off of that. They're receiving it, and you're not to have that day-to-day financial control. Where the UTSSD receives the remainder, whatever the remainder is, and we have a new district, number 1, you're now giving more of an allocation to that district, which does essentially reduce the remainder that goes to the UTSSD, but it's not a set amount.
Well,
The decision is they
Yeah.
just receive whatever the remainder is.
well, the other part of that, and even though it's not, I don't think it's critical because it wasn't a set amount, is that those 3 districts impact transportation and rec all have the same, the budget from impact is going to be a part of SSD1 in fairly short order. and the same with transportation. So it's, they are assigned the same duty, essentially. They have the same duty. So there is no partitioning off of money away from something that was to which it was originally intended. In this case, we also waited long enough to be sure that transportation got its budget so it can fully implement everything it planned to do. It will be over what it planned in its budget, and it will also shore up healthcare, which, because of, we don't take the taxes anymore, we stopped collecting the tax and the interest hasn't kept up, and that fund is in jeopardy.
Okay. Any further comments? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Next discussion is the Mary Cashen Road classification change from Class D road to a Class B.
All right, Matt Kazir with Community Development Office. I was asked to provide a couple of maps to kind of help the discussion here.
That one doesn't, I don't know why. Could be. It's not plugged in.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm not exactly sure where, but I do have this map, and then I have a closer up map of
Yeah,
the Mary.
what I wanted to bring up on this is, this road, a portion of it was the original Mel Road that came into Uintah County.
This is on Simplot property.
Yes.
Right,
Mhm.
yep.
If you look at this map that's up there right now, the road that we're talking about is the blue. Is that blue or green? I can't tell.
Yeah, it's kind of a blue-green.
Blue-green.
Yeah.
Turquoise color. That's the road we're talking about. There's a lot of use of that road. It not only our ATV rides and Jeep rallies, there's a lot of private folks that use this road from the top of the mountain down. It connects us to the Forest Service and in different areas. We've looked at, and all those other roads on that private ground that you can see you can look on both sides of Highway 40. Those are all actually Class D roads on Simplot's property that we have not been using as often as we do the Mary Cashen Road. And so today's comment was, it comes down to, do we want to look at, the problem with this is it's a D road right now, which enables Simplot to put a gate up, but not lock it. But with what we're running into is in the past, they have locked the gate, and when the ranchers try to move their cows up or ride, or somebody's trying to get off the mountain, they can't get through the gate, so we're having to cut the locks off, and it's causing us grief. I think the point here is, if we made that a Class B road, there would be no more gates. They can't put a gate across the B road. They would have to either put cattle guards in or fence both sides of the road. And I think that's been their biggest concern, is that somebody will wander off the road into a blasting area. So if we made it a B road, they could fence both sides, and you wouldn't have to worry about anybody trespassing on their property. So that's how this conversation has came up. And so it was just something we thought we'd bring to the attention so we could have a discussion about it and see where we want to go from there. And the other part of it is, if it's a B road, we can do a B road gravel road And so we can use some B-road funds to keep it maintained so it's smoother and a better road through there. And I think it's a necessity that we have it. We've looked at it 2 or 3 different ways and had some discussions about maybe rerouting that road to make it better. But that's where it lies. So we just wanted to have a discussion about it today and see if we have any appetite to move it to a Class B road or continue on how we are. And we're gonna eventually have to talk about all the roads on Simplot's private property that we look at as D roads. We claim them as a D road, and if we want access to those, we need to enforce that. If we don't, then we need to get with them and have them come get them off, because we don't need them on there if we're not gonna use them. So.
The one thing I would say with the Mary Cashen Canyon Road, the way that it's on the county's transportation map right now, it does tie into the Searle Ranch Road, which is a B road on the north, but it actually stops a little bit short of the B road on the south. So there's a numbered road that links the gap there, so that if you're going to change the classification, we should also change the classification of that other. It's just a numbered road.
Can you turquoise that in so we can see it, or not on that?
I can on this map. It's stagnant, but it basically can you see my pointer here?
Yes.
So it runs from the end of this B road, which is the red line, and it runs up to where it's highlighted here, and it's this 100506 road is the number on it.
So it would tie the 2 B roads together.
Yeah, that would complete the the section there, so that you'd have a continuous B road. Wouldn't be split with a small section of D road.
So we had this come up on Little Mountain also. We had some problems getting up there to our towers, and the cell towers and the communication towers in the winter. And so we did that, a B road, a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago.
Yeah, something like that. It's been a little while.
I think it's something that we ought to at least look at, see what it would take to do it, and how that would, it may help us in the long run, keeping people from trespassing. Because all we have is a right of way through there. And so we need to make sure that we want to respect the private landowner's property, so.
Yeah.
So it's just on for discussion, no, nothing. We just wanted to have this conversation. Mike?
It does and doesn't have. I've been hearing for the last 5 years that Simplot's gonna reline 191, or the state is, or something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've just been hearing rumors that from just everybody. How is this road even gonna, I mean, I don't even know where it's at.
It's this, if you turn right past Simplot's gate and head up behind Red Fleet and go past the dyno tracks and everything, if you follow that along, you drop down off and that takes you up on this side of the.
Mick Caldwell home down in there.
I just didn't know where they're supposed to realign.
They're-
I mean, it's like I said, I've just been hearing rumors for 5 years or so.
That's in process, isn't it? We
Well,
met
they
with-
were, what they've
UDOT.
done is they volunteered to do a cost share with UDOT. And so what they would do is they've got a redesign that instead of having all the switchbacks, they're gonna swing it to the east so that they can mine under where the road currently is. But UDOT had not approved that project yet. I think they were meeting, the board was meeting recently, but I don't know if it sounds good,
Isn't it?
but I've not heard, they've always said, well, don't get ahead of don't catch the horses just yet. But it seems like it's heading that direction.
I think, I could be wrong, but our last UDOT meeting, I think it was approved.
Okay, well,
But
I
it
know
won't
they-
go this far east.
Yeah.
It won't go over this far to the east.
Okay.
Well, just for the record, Mr. Chairman, I am a direct user of that. We drive our cattle up it every year and down it and travel back and forth for checking them and stuff on it, but just to clarify it so it's on the records, but
But with a B road might hurt you more than help you.
no.
You go up, I mean, they go up the old road and go straight up across instead
Yeah,
of
but,
staying
you know,
on that road.
technically it's, you know, the cattle trail there at the top there does, but technically it's either way works, you know, but that's just thoughts. It's a good, I think it's a very needed access that we got to keep, you know, and need to do some work on it, but that's just my opinion.
Right. Okay.
So Commissioners, as you know, for public record, Simplot has filed a quiet title action on this road. We have filed our answer in the timeline that is provided under court rules. So right now, we are currently, there's a dispute on title of the road. The county is claiming that we have a prescriptive right-of-way there, and we have had it since, I think we were able to go all the way back to the early 1900s with maps and other evidence, and then direct testimony getting into the 40s, 50s, and 60s. So before Simplot became the owner of the road. So in looking at the deeds with them acquiring the property, it specifically said subject to valid existing rights. Of course, a prescriptive right, if it's challenged, does need to be proved up and perfected in court. So we're in that process.
Okay.
If the county were to make a decision to turn this into a B road, our suggestion is please don't get us into a position that we're doing an inverse condemnation where we just go and claim it, you know, like bulldoze it and improve it, because then they can sue on an inverse condemnation. I would rather us just legally be upfront and just file a eminent domain condemnation action on the road and just claim it as a B road and get title completely clear. I would save the particulars on why we wouldn't want to do an inverse condemnation for a closed session. I don't want to get into that legal strategy in an open, but I would advise that if that's the county's desire, which we can always turn any road into a B road. It's just we would have to deal with the additional impact on the private landowner. And it would be more appropriate to just do that through an eminent domain condemnation action. So we could file that with the court, seek immediate occupancy, and then all we're haggling over is just the price of condemning the additional width.
Okay.
But any other specific questions on that, I would just recommend let's go into closed session at another date, because we don't have it noticed up here, but we could always do that and get into more specifics.
Yeah, this was just a conversation, just to see where we were. Have it. Tammy, did you have something?
Uintah County citizen. So the commission and the county, out of respect to anybody that owns private property, any gate, did you contact Simplot or any of the private owners up on this property that you're wanting to do a classification from a D road to a B road? Did you invite them? Did you tell them you were going to have a discussion?
I've had discussions with Simplot about this road a lot. We all have. This is just a conversation. It has nothing to do with doing it.
Did you tell them you were going to put it on the agenda to maybe consider it for a change in classification in roads?
No, we did not, because number one, we're not even to that point yet. It's a conversation. Okay, any further discussion? Okay. Thanks, Matt. Next is resolution number 06292022R2. A resolution changing classification of a certain road located in Uintah County, Utah, in T3S R21E, section 1314 SLM on the Uintah County Transportation Map.
Yeah, so this is the Moonshine Arch Road, the new addition that was completed as kind of a joint project between Uintah County and state of Utah, or UDOT, to move the main access for Moonshine Arch further north on 191. This map is kind of the existing road comes in here, kind of on this corner where it's hard to see. The new access is up in this area, and it ties in here at the current intersection. And I've got another map that shows. So you can see this is 191 again, and this is where it ties in to 191. And that project's complete. There's turn lanes there now, both left and a right onto this new road. And then it ties in at the existing intersection here. And so this would be the road that we'd be classifying as a Class B road. It's a new road. It's not on our existing transportation map, but right-of-way was obtained. 60 feet is my understanding, and the road's been improved. Here are pictures of the road. This is the west end of the road, looking east from the intersection. And then this is looking east, closer to 191. You can see in the background here. And then this is looking back to the west. So the project's been completed, and it's time to put it on our transportation map. And it's a road that will be maintained, and so putting it on as a Class B. Class 1B gravel road seems like the appropriate designation for that. And I do have the resolution here that includes the map here.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, can I make a comment on that? So yeah, this is a great project. I think it's going to improve safety on Highway 191. And the users and residents that are in that area. So that's great. One thing just on, it's more just on the wording of the resolution. Karina and I caught this, but it was after the final agenda was already published. So wanted to just bring it up here. Is instead of saying a resolution changing classification where this is a totally new road, and it's not really a realignment because it's the old road's still going to stay there. This is just a new portion. So if the title could be changed, resolution number stays the same, a resolution adding a portion of Moonshine Arch Road located in Uintah County. So instead of changing classification, it would be adding a portion.
Okay.
Can we still use this then? Or do we have to change it? Can we change
Well,
it here?
if the motion, yeah, can have that wording, and then Karina has the.
Yeah, that's the wording that's on the
Did she
resolution
email
that I
that to
have.
you already?
Yeah.
Okay, so he has the corrected language. It's just need to make that distinction from the agenda and then what the actual action is.
Okay.
Okay, so I need to include that in the motion. That's
It would,
changing.
here, I'll show you. The motion. The motion would be that language right there.
All right, Mr. Chairman, any other discussion? I'll attempt the motion.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the resolution number 06292022R2, a resolution adding a portion of Moonshine Arch Road located in Uintah County, Utah in T3SR21 East, Section 1314 SLM of the Uintah County Transportation Map.
Okay. That cover it, John?
Yeah, that's great.
Have a motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Thanks, Matt.
All right.
So the next one, yours too, the subdivision amendment? Go ahead.
Do you want me to introduce it?
Yeah.
Okay,
please.
so this is Farrell and Laura Peed. They're requesting approval of a subdivision amendment on property located at 1414 West, 500 North, units 13 and 14. Vernal, Utah, serial number 0408000219. Okay, so on the map here, you can kind of see where this is located. This is 5th North, 1500 West here, and the outlined or highlighted section here is the entire subdivision. So we're east of 1500 West. This is the original subdivision plat for phase 1, and these are the units we're talking about down here, 13 and 14. They're actually above and below one another, where the other units, and it was an existing structure at the time the subdivision was approved. The structures that were built in there are all side-by-side units. So that's phase 1, and then this was phase 2, which was added to the north, and it added 4 more units to the development. So what they're requesting is that a section of the subdivision be removed from the subdivision, and so it would no longer be part of it. This unit has since been, instead of being 2 single-family units, it's been turned into a duplex, which is under one ownership and managed a little differently than 2 individual single-family units. And so that's the reason that they're asking to be removed. This map kind of clears it up just a little bit better. It's a little easier to see. So the yellow line would be the new boundary of the subdivision, and the green would be the lot that would be vacated from the subdivision. They have worked with our office, the recorder's office, and the county surveyor on the plat. And they did part of it, let's see here. One of the things that they had to do is they had to get the signatures of all the owners of both phases 1 and 2, because the area around the unit is actually owned by the homeowners association there, and so by each individual owner, and so each individual owner had a share in that property, and so they did get all the signatures from all the owners saying that they were okay with releasing that area from the subdivision. We also worked with the fire marshal to make sure that it wouldn't cause any issues as far as fire access or safety there. And where this leg of the road isn't more than 150 feet, they were okay with the proposal as well. So I think that's all I've got, unless there's other questions on it.
Nope. Have any questions?
Nope.
Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the subdivision amendment for Farrell and Laura Peed as presented by Matt.
Seconded.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Next item is non-compliant buildings. That's yours too, Matt?
That's mine as well. Okay, so the building division is requesting authorization to record a certificate of non-compliant building or structure on property located at 1286 East, 5800 South. It's here in the Vernal area, and this particular one, it's a home addition that they applied for. Been working with them to get it closed out, and so we initially had sent them a letter, just regular mail, letting them know, hey, your permits, we haven't heard from you in a while, over 6 months, and the permit's going to be voided unless we hear from you. We didn't hear from them, and so we sent them a certified letter letting them know, hey, we need to get this resolved. And then we scheduled it with that notice. We also schedule a meeting that they can come to as well. And so with that, they did reach back out to us, and they did request an extension of 180 days. And that extension was approved, and it will expire on October 18th of this year. And so our recommendation is that we give them until October 18th of this year to get into compliance. And if they don't, then a certificate of noncompliance would be recorded after that date.
Okay. Any further discussion, any questions? Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd go ahead and make the motion that we would go ahead and give the extension for the requesting authorization on the property at 1286 East, 5800 South, 060420162 till October 18th.
Okay. Have a motion?
Yes.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
Okay.
Matt, here again, huh?
Next one's mine as
Fence
well.
height approval.
All right. So this one, under current county ordinance, any fence over 6 feet tall has to be approved by the Land Use Authority, which is the county commission, since another one wasn't designated for this particular item. So this is a request from Jeremy Russell, and the property is located at 815 North, 3500 West. And its serial numbers 4, 114, 76, 77, and 78. And it's located here on 3500 West, north of 500 North, and a little bit north of 700 North, but south of 1000. And it's on the west side of the road. He does own 3 parcels there, and he was looking at, he had originally requested that the fence would go all the way around the property and then some in the front, and so that's what was noticed on here. He let me know that he was changing his application. He said his wife didn't want the fence in the front anymore, so he took that off, and he's only requesting approval for the fence along the kind of the northwest corner of the property, along the west boundary, and then a small portion of the south boundary. And the fence, so again, on this one, sorry, this is the road out front. This is 3500, and the house is set back quite a ways off the road. And so he's looking just to get the fence around his house. He said that he wants to go higher than the 6 feet because there's a proposed subdivision there to the north of him, although they've been working on for about 1.5 years or 2 years. And so that's his reasoning there. The fence will be somewhere around 6 foot 10 inches. This 1 foot here is in the ground, under the ground, so the height of the fence is measured from the ground to the top. We have 7 feet on there. That would give him a little bit of wiggle room there as he installs the fence.
Is this a variance from what normally would be? Is there a 6 foot or a 5 foot fence?
Yeah, the 6 foot is the rule, but the county code does give, it's not a variance, but it gives the county commission the ability to make an exception.
What's behind there, just a field?
Well, on one side's hackings.
Yeah, so Hackings, and they do have approval for a subdivision here on this parcel, and then you've got fields and stuff behind them. I think this was, at one time it was Batty's. I don't know if they sold it. or who owns it right now, but, yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of fields around him with some residences around as well.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, can I ask some questions? So typically, when a landowner is seeking a variance, they're trying to show that their property is there's something different about their situation that would require a variance. Otherwise, our office always advises, no, we stick with the rules, because then you're opening up to a lot of subjective applications after that. So my question here, just because he may have neighbors in a subdivision, is there an elevation difference that the extra 10 inches would help on line of sight? You know, are they so substantially higher that he's afraid that, I mean, I have neighbors at my house, if they're on their second floor, they can see everything in my backyard, right? I mean, that's just the way it is. But my 6-foot fence allows me, if I'm in my backyard and my neighbors are in their backyard, we're not able to drool over their barbecue, and they can't whine and complain about my kids running, you know, all over the place in my backyard. So that's what I'm wondering, is there something that we can point to that shows that the variance is needed because there is a different situation going on with this property, not just landowner desire, because that's usually why we have those standard rules across the county. So with that input, I'll let the discussion, you know, the discussion can continue.
Okay. I'm not aware of any elevation change there. It's pretty flat through that area. He did email me and let me know that he wasn't going to be able to make it today, so if there were questions, he would request it to be tabled.
And that's fair. Yeah.
I'd like to know why he's asking for it. Is
Okay.
it keep the cows at bay? Is it what's the?
Yeah, and he wasn't. He didn't answer that in his email where he requested it. So I'd probably recommend that we table it at this time, and then we can. I'll get with him. I think he was had some issues that he had to deal with today, so I can get with him and we can get it on another agenda.
Yeah, that makes sense, and I appreciate the discussion. I think it's all great, but that's something that my office would be looking at to just see what is the distinction. Other times that we've approved changes to fence rules, you know, they've talked about headlights coming directly into their house, or like I said, elevation issues, or.
And there would be, there could be. Let's see. Let me just go back here. I'm just trying to think of the subdivision there. So there is a road that comes down right here in the proposed subdivision that would be shining right towards the house.
So then you'd say, would the 6 feet still provide that protection? Or again, if there is something where we think, no, they're just going to be hammered with headlights all the time, then yeah, that would be a fair reason to consider.
Okay. I say we table it until he can come and tell us.
Okay. I'll get a hold of him and let him know, and then I'll just get it on another agenda when it works for him.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
We're at the time of the meeting for public comment. If you could keep your comments to 3 minutes or less, we'll take up to 10 minutes. Starting now.
Last week last time we met, I wanted to ask you, I write it down, and I have a question about the purchase orders. When the clerk reads the claims and all of that, it's changed this year. It's been different, and he always makes sure we know that it wasn't generated in his office, and I get what we're doing here, but for the past few times, there's been like 1 or 2 no purchase orders for certain things. But then today, there were 7 of them? So I remember the chalkboard that Mike did, and then the chalkboard, the deal that Bart did about the reporting. So I'm just wondering about that. Has this been a problem always? Or has it been something since this change where we have now a purchasing department? Because today, I thought that was really a lot. That's a lot of money, and a lot of things that haven't been addressed. So I just was
Well, I
wondering if that's,
I think they've been addressed. Mike used to just call them off the warrant. He would just name them off the warrant list instead of having two separate functions.
well, and I remember hearing them before, but it just didn't seem to be so concrete as it is right now.
There's a lot of, since I've been here, and you can't speak to the whole history, there's a lot of stuff that used to come through that we just fixed when it came through. And now we're trying to establish the process better. Like right now, if one comes through, it used to be if one came from Mike's office and it came over, we just go, well, it'll get fixed. And we would sign it and then it would go back. But we'd have the sheriff's office or somebody bring stuff over for signature that hadn't been through Mike's office. And we say, yeah, you need to get Mike's signature on it. So what we've done, now when something comes in, if there's no approval, we usually don't push it forward. So if it comes to us, we're now not fixing it, we're sending it back. Whereas in the past, we used to be a little bit more, because Mike was handling both the approval, like he would send it to us. It was supposed to come from him with the originator's signature and then his signature. And then if somebody brought it, didn't have his, we'd go, well, you gotta go get Mike's signature on this, but we signed it anyway, we sent it over, he fixed it. Now we're trying to make it so that people get used to the process. The purchasing policy is about to be revised, and if people can't get it right, then there probably will be more than just, we'll approve it here. It'll be like, no, disciplinary action, something, a letter going, don't do this. It's training people, but it's not a new problem. It's been ongoing for some time. We used to just kind of gloss over it.
Okay, well, I just had never seen that till I really learned the differentiation between what happened and what's happening, and it just seems to be a problem.
We also didn't used to do the claims versus the,
Right.
So there's two things that have happened, and we're trying to get a better process. And if people will just, they fill it out, they take it down, we sign it, goes to Mike. It's very simple. It's just something that really hasn't been done
Okay, well, I just
consistently.
know it's been more out there since this change, so thank you.
Any other public comment? Come on up. You have to come up to the microphone. State your name, please.
Cindy Scott. Okay, when Mike, though they did not have a purchase order, and you've kind of explained why, which departments should have gotten the purchase orders? Like,
Whoever's
we
buying
know
it.
that one of them was from Buckskin Hills. They determined that. But nowhere in when Mike was presenting it did it tell us which departments failed to get the purchasing order. Can we get that so that the next time we know which department did not follow through like they should have?
Could you do that, Mike?
You had it, didn't you, Mike? You knew?
Well, I asked you and you clarified a couple
Yeah.
of them.
I mentioned a couple of them.
Yeah.
I think it's between
on
us,
there.
unfortunately, between us, we know Buckskin Hills is under travel and tourism. We know, so, but we can clarify it. We can clarify it better. Any other? Going once? Done. Okay. We do have a need for closed session today?
Yeah, I actually forgot there is one from USIP that we need to talk about.
Okay.
All right.
So entertain a
Do we
motion.
need,
How long do you think
John, do
it'll
we
be?
need to have a special place? Do we need to go
No,
somewhere else? We just do it right
We
here?
can just do it here in
How long do you
Okay.
think would be?
15, 25 minutes.
Okay, bye. meeting afterwards, but 15, 25 minutes, Tracy, is that all right?
How long does she need? We could,
How long are you gonna need to meet with me? Well, he said we'll try to make it 15 minutes, is that all right? Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Who wants to make the motion? We need a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move commission recess into closed session for purpose of discussion pending or imminent litigation. Upon completion of that discussion, return to general session and adjourn.
Okay, thank you.
You got a second on this?
Oh, yeah, hold on one second. We have a
Second.
motion. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.